Peace. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. With this particular video, I want to talk about the Sentinelese people, and I want to call it sovereignty versus protective status. And this is very important. Now, we know the Sentinelese people are in India, and they live on a remote island they're the oldest indigenous and ancient civilization left, probably only one left that has not been truly contacted by human beings, even though they were contacted by a white man a few decades ago, but that was the last contact. They've been granted protective status in India, by the Indian government, where no one can really go in and see them, or no one has a right to go on their island, and they should be left alone. But recently, this Chinaman who's lost his identity and is a United States American citizen decided to travel over there on a Christian missionary trip to spread the good old teachings and good old gospel of Jesus Christ to these aboriginals on the island of the Sentinelese people. He wanted to share the word of Jesus Christ, because in the Bible it says, Christ is not coming back into everybody on earth, and every nation and every tribe of people have been exposed to the gospel of Jesus Christ. So this Asian Christian United States American citizen thought that he was doing the right thing, was going to be brave and courageous, and go over there and spread the word of Jesus to these indigenous people, the last uncolonized people, as so to say, which I'm going to break down in this video. Left, he wanted to go and colonize them with Christianity, and he got some Indian fishermen, some Hindus, to drive him over there to the island on boat. And when he got off the boat and tried to greet the people, basically they arrowed his ass to death, and he died, and his body has yet to been found. And this created a big controversy as to what happened to this guy, and is that right or wrong, and it's been very controversial. But this Asian dude is dead because he went somewhere where he should have minded his business, or somewhere where he should not have gone. He should have left those people alone. But the Christian crusades and Christian missionaries want to colonize everybody. They want to spread white supremacy through the entire planet, and that's what happened. Now nothing can be done to these people because supposedly they have protective status, and he wasn't supposed to go over there. He broke the law. What he did was illegal because he wasn't supposed to go over there in the first place. And the so-called black conscious community, or black nationalist community, or back to nature community has kind of gripped onto this circumstance as a victory and as a championship victory for the back to nature, black consciousness, black sovereign nationalistic movement. But I want to talk about today, in this particular video, the difference between protective status and sovereignty, because what they have is protective status and not sovereignty, which is two different things. Protective status was given to them like you give to animals in wildlife. Certain animals that are considered extinct have protective status so that people don't hunt them and kill the last of them off. So these islanders, these Sentinelese islanders, have protective status because they are a very indigenous and aboriginal wildlife type people that they're trying to conserve. And at the same time they're simultaneously trying to quarantine them because they have not been exposed to a lot of the modern day diseases and the mutations of different type of bacteria and viruses that are among the human population now, which if someone goes over to that island in contact with them, that they can actually spread this disease to them and wipe out their whole tribe, and also possibly cause that disease to mutate in a way that can affect human population again and kill off half of the world, the known world that we know today. So now these individuals on the Sentinelese Islands are actually being quarantined, and then they're not respected as having sovereign and indigenous rights. There's a difference. They're being quarantined, and they're being left, they're being isolated from overall society. That's not sovereignty. That's not nationalism. That's not independence. That's just really somewhat of a dehumanization, if you ask me, because they can't leave the island either, as well as no one can come on the island. They don't want them to leave the island. They can't leave and come back on the island. I don't know how that's a victory of sovereignty or black nationalism or black independent nationhood being limited to the island that you exist on. The Honorable Khalid Abdul Muhammad once said that Africa might be our throne, but the world is our home. So the whole planet actually belongs to the original black man. The whole entire planet. The whole entire planet Earth, 196,940,000 square miles of the planet Earth belong to us, not just some island somewhere, some just land where we're going to be isolated. But also, if you go into the caste system, you find that the darker people in India were treated as the undesirables and the untouchables, and they were actually subjected to the lighter, fairer-skinned Hindus. That's still going on today with quarantining and isolating these melanated people on this particular island. That ain't sovereignty. That ain't nationalism. That ain't independence. That's something totally different. What if some people came to your house, hazmat, these are the people who are the Center for Disease Control, came to your house with these white suits on and these gas masks on, and they actually surrounded your house, created borders, and told you that no one can leave and nobody can come in. Now, it's your home. It's where you live at, but nobody can leave and nobody can come in. How would you feel about that? Would you feel like a sovereign? Would you feel nationalistic? Would you feel independent? Now, just because they're capitalizing off of the Sentinelese people's desire to be separate and be independent from society as a whole, doesn't mean that that's really sovereignty or nationalism or independence. It's just they're capitalizing off that as well. They said, well, you're keeping people out. We're going to help keep them out as well. Bottom line, because we don't want people going in, and we don't really want people coming out. So it's a whole nother narrative of the story that I don't think is being looked at. You know, that these people are being quarantined. They're not stuck on this island, but they're being limited to that island. Now, to some of you all's victory, or to some of you all's desire, is to be on an island somewhere, independent and left alone, with nobody else there but the people you have there on that island. That's some of you all's goal, but hopefully you would want to achieve that goal with the knowledge of the planet Earth, and you still want the free will to leave the island and come back to your island. You don't want to be on a voluntary prisoner camp called an island or called a tribe. You don't want to be locked into that. The same type of isolation that you see that's going on with the Sentinelese people and the Indian government is happening with the black people on the south side of Chicago. You keep Negroes on the south side. You keep Negroes in the bad places in Detroit. You keep Negroes in these areas. And you tell certain people that they shouldn't go in. It would be dangerous if they went in, and it's not a good idea for them to go in those neighborhoods or be there after dark or whatever. And you have those people isolated because you arrest them and lock them up when they leave their neighborhoods, and you also warn people not to go in. So it's when you say protective status, you got to ask now who's being protected. Are you protecting the people inside, or are you protecting the people outside? That's what's going on with the whole border situation with Mexico today. We don't know if they're trying to keep people in, or we don't know if they're trying to lock people out. We don't really know what's going on at the border because if they build a wall, they're going to be locking Americans in, not just keeping Americans out. When they shut down the border just a couple of days ago, the border was shut down at the Mexico border, and they weren't even allowing Americans to get back into the country. So it's really just global elite control over every movement and every action that you may have. And I think if certain Europeans would feel like African Americans would just go to an island and just go there and live on that island and mind their own business and leave them alone and no one come in and no one come out, that they would be satisfied with that. But that would be too easy because, it's not going to be that easy. You're not going to be able to just get rid of your problems like that. You're not going to be able to just dump your problems off on an island, quarantine them, lock them in that island, tell nobody to come out, nobody to go in, and that's going to solve your problems. You're still going to have to deal with the karma of what you have done to the original and ancient people of the planet Earth. Like, that karma is inescapable. You're going to have to deal with that. And that's why nature is tearing this European up right now. We see fires, we see earthquakes, we see mudslides. He's getting tore up because this karma is inescapable because he's dealt with nature wrong by dealing with the natural people wrong. And you can't separate your modern society from nature. That's the matrix, to believe that you can construct something outside of nature and that it's going to exist and live and be strong, and that you're going to be able to quarantine nature and put it over here and isolate it over there, and that you're going to have your modern conventional technological matrix over here and things are just going to work out. And that's not true. That unless you build a society that is naturally sustained and supported in a homogeneous way with nature, then nothing you build is going to exist. You're not going to be able to be smarter than nature. You're not going to be able to defeat nature. It's just not going to work. Even though you're gene editing, making twins, and you're trying to mess with the clouds and make it rain in certain areas, you're not going to defeat nature. It's a losing battle. And that's your objective, to defeat nature, separate yourself from nature, because that's what someone who is unnatural would do. That's what someone who is not in tune and in alignment with nature would do. So that's all they're doing with these Sentinelese people. We're people that was able to roam free all over the planet Earth and appreciate all of the Earth. Now we need passports, and we need visas, and we need all this to travel on an Earth that once belonged to us, that we was able to travel the entire parameters of the Earth. And now you're saying, well, we just need to be on this island. That's why, when certain individuals say, we need to take back the Bible Belt, and turn that into a black nation, I argue that, because all of America belongs to us, and we should be ultimately building up the power to be able to take back this land, to take back this country. I don't believe that's unrealistic, to take over this landmass in North America. That's something that we should ultimately be focused on doing. Like, this European shouldn't run us into some corner, into some cave, into some island, while he runs and takes and exploits and destroys everything, and, eventually comes and sees us anyway, like he did the Sentinelese people. I mean, you can't go nowhere on this earth where this European is going to just let you be and let you mind your own business and have your own tribe. He'll give you the illusion of that, but it's just too many of them. Somebody's going to come and mess with you. Somebody's going to come and bring Jesus back to you and bring the good book to you. So there's nowhere you can go and be safe and peaceful and have a utopia until you deal with this damn devil. And that should be our focus. And yes, we're going to have a base somewhere, and maybe that could be the Bible Belt or the Deep South, maybe, or maybe that could be somewhere else in the tropics, or who knows. We're going to definitely have to have a base, but we're going to have to take over the planet. We're going to have to deal with this enemy and put him in his place and check him, or we will never have a peace of mind. There will never be no place for us to lay our head. So don't let this European quarantine the indigenous and melanated people and isolate them, and you confuse that with being sovereign, while he spend all the gold and all the silver and take over everything, rule everything, and make all the conventions work for him, and make all the labor of our ancestors, make him live in heaven on earth, and then he quarantine us somewhere, and we think that's sovereignty or nationalism and independence. It's not going to happen that way. That our ultimate goal and focus should be to destroy the devil's civilization, to destroy his reality, to take him out of power, and to implement black supreme new world order on the planet. That must be our goal, and that must be our focus. So I just want to speak on that. Protective status is not sovereignty, and if you're not self-protected, then you're not really protected, because your destiny is at the whim and mercy of those who claim they're protecting you. So if they're not protecting themselves, the truth is they're really not protected at all, and there are no bows and arrows that is going to shoot down drones and tanks and armies that's coming at you. So they don't really have a protective status. They're at mercy of white supremacy, at the same time being quarantined and isolated and being kept as some type of national wildlife circus act, so that National Geographics and other type entities who make money off of this type of thing can continue to capitalize off it. That's just my piece. I want to speak on that. This is King Noble Black Supremacy. Make sure you join my website, www.kingnoblepblacksupremacy.com. Join, sign up now. It's absolutely free.